Hello, I am Jalen Taylor, and I will be doing my case study presentation over choosing your battles. Some background information on my case is it goes over the basic rundown of how to choose the correct battles to fight and how to correctly approach them. Oftentimes, the way others react to things may cause another person not to feel comfortable in bringing up the issue. What this means is some conflicts are not worth bringing up because the result you get out of it is just not worth it, and a lot of times that causes people to shut down and not feel comfortable in bringing it up because they're afraid of how another person may react. The principles of choosing your battles can be used in real workplaces. In this case, Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad is one of many businesses that have used these principles to turn conflict into competitiveness. It's more about getting results that can benefit both parties in the end more than it is to win the argument. Some key points of this case is effective conflicts have three important characteristics: speak to what is possible, be compelling, and involve uncertainty. How should a manager bring up conflict? Well, it's all about worth and value. Like I said in the background information. If it's not worth it, you shouldn't bring it up. If it's not worth, all right, if the manager feels like two employees are busy and they're working, he may ask himself, should I put it, is it worth pulling them aside to talk about this? Is it valuable to pull them aside to talk about this? Will either of them benefit from me bringing it up to them? And before he brings it up, he may think of number two, the solutions to conflict. He may think of some ways that he can already have figured out to even out the conflict or find a resolution to the conflict. And three is to make it more about competition and getting better rather than winning or losing. So he may try to get both employees together and realize, okay, what can you learn from one another? How can both of you guys get better from this? How is there anything that you guys can both take away from this and use it later on? Then case questions. How would you ensure sufficient discussion of contentious issues in a work group? Well, the first thing I would do is I would make sure that I have a place where people are actually comfortable of talking. You need to be able to set a ground where people are okay with being open with you, are okay with discussing things, and also everybody needs to understand. Okay, if we are talking, if we are being more open, we're going to be a lot stronger as a group and be able to accomplish a lot more. How can managers bring unspoken conflicts into the open without making them worse? Well, like I said just a minute ago, you need to make people feel comfortable. So you don't always need to be direct and ask people directly, "Do you have an issue?" You can just, you can sometimes a manager can say, "Hey, does anybody have any issues that they want to bring up? Does anybody have anything that they want to talk about?" And you kind of just open the floor. Uh, People are more comfortable whenever they can speak on their own rather than being forced to speak. So that's a good way to make people be able to feel comfortable is just to open up the floor for whoever wants to speak can speak. How can negotiators com how can negotiators ut I'm sorry. How can negotiators utilize conflict management strategies to their advantages so that differences in interests lead to not dysfunctional conflicts but rather to positive integrative solutions? Um, the first thing that the manager may do is, or the negotiator may do is, he may try to have these two people understand what's similar between one another. Whenever two people are always focused on the differences, it makes them realize, okay, we actually have a good amount of things to argue about and to be different about. Whenever you make it about, you know, the similarities between the two, that it kind of gets them to realize, okay, we aren't as different as I thought. We kind of do have the same interests. We share the same, this. We share the same that. So it makes them, be able to see more eye to eye. Another way to do this is if both parties want something and they're both completely different things that they want, you can give each of them a piece of what they want, but not all of what they want. So, they're both giving up something, but they're both also receiving something at the same time. Can you think of solutions in your life where in which silence has worsened a conflict between parties? Yes. There's plenty of times where, I do have a girlfriend, and there's plenty of times where, something may happen and it's kind of small, you feel, so you don't really bring it up. But at the end of the day, it was big enough to talk about. But, whenever you don't talk about it and, you keep not talking about things, it's only going to build up. And eventually, whenever you guys have an argument, like for like example with me, with my girlfriend, whenever we decide to not talk about things and we have an argument later, everything comes out at once, and it just makes it a lot worse whenever you're not discussing things and and you're not going over it when it first happens. Whenever you wait, it just builds up, and it creates anger on both sides of parties. What might have you done differently to ensure that open communication facilitated collaboration instead? You know, honestly, it's been a few times where I've tried it out. I said, okay, in the previous times, if I would have had a problem like this, I wouldn't have said anything. But I know that makes it worse, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and say it now. And the way I do that is, you bring it up, but you kind of bring it up in a calm way. Hey, I have something I want to talk to you about. Can we talk? I don't want to argue. I just want to just let you know something that bothered me, and something that that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I often find that to work a lot better than not talking at all. Because when you don't talk at all, like I said, it just makes things build up, and it makes it really hard for two people to see eye to eye. When you talk about it, I know ahead of time, okay, this bothers you. You know ahead of time that bothers me. So in the long run, it makes both of us. In the long run, we both know what bothers each other, so it's a lot easier to not do those things rather than it is to not say it, and then we keep doing the same thing over and over and over to irritate you because we never knew that was irritating you. All in all, this case study provided key details and information on how to choose battles that are worth it. If you apply these principles in real life, you would definitely see immediate results, and I feel as if a lot of people can benefit from this case study. Um, a lot of people do have arguments and issues, and a lot of times they're going to be about something that was not worth it. And a lot of times, if you sit there and you just realize, okay, this is not worth it, I did not have to, I don't really want to bring this up, you will find yourself, in a lot less conflict. And if you pay attention to the value and worth before deciding whether or not to choose a specific battle, like I just said, in the previous question, that's going to be the key factor in almost anything you do. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Should I bring it up? Should I not bring it up? And that right there that's going to set you apart from, arguing or not arguing, or having a successful argument. It's nothing wrong with arguing, but you don't want to have an argument that doesn't have a goal, that doesn't have, just different things about it. So whenever you argue, you need to make sure that it's worth it. And that's the most important thing that you can take away from this case study. I'm Jalen Taylor, and thank you for listening to my presentation.